Hello, this is Luminousz Star and welcome to the channel. Today's video, allow the part of you that the narcissist loves to die. Please check out the description box below for further details to today's video. Also, don't forget to like and share. My current subscribers, thank you so much for your subscription. Thank you for motivating me and inspiring me to keep Luminousz Star channel active. Everyone who's joining us for the first time, welcome to the Luminousz Star channel, and why don't you join us by hitting that subscription button below. Okay, having said all that, let's get on with the video. First point, by first understanding what attracts and appeals to narcissists and those who have a cluster B personality, one can begin to allow the changes necessary to repel those who prey upon others. Experiencing discomfort with the theme of dysfunctional relationships are one sign that transition is taking place. Next point. The narcissist and the cluster B personality has a false self-image of which he or she is loyal to. False identities of those that supply the narcissist are created by the narcissist in order to keep them in the sunken place. One usually experiences confusion about where he or she stands with the narcissist. With the cluster B personality and with the narcissist, one rarely knows where he or she stands. But one of the reasons is because there's never a bottom line. The narcissist and the cluster B personality make sure that there's never a bottom line. Very often this causes confusion. One often not only experiences confusion, but they also experience anger. They also experience other unpleasant emotions such as sadness. The narcissist and the cluster B personality is only loyal to their false self-image, which means they will do anything and everything necessary to make sure that their false self-image is well supplied. There's a false identity that the narcissist creates, or a false image of you or of anyone who would be deemed as a source supplier of the narcissist. This is another way that the narcissist makes sure that their false self-image is well supplied. In other words, they never see you or know you for who you really are, and they intend it that way. They set it up that way. All you have to do is look at the dysfunctional relationship and all of the shenanigans. Next point. Those who have a narcissistic personality disorder often blur the lines between truth and deception in order to keep others confused about who narcissist takes him or her for. One does not know the bottom line when it concerns the narcissist, which keeps the narcissist's false self-image supplied. Next point. Enmeshment, denial, and compliance is what keeps the flow of toxic energy flowing within a dysfunctional relationship with narcissists and those with a cluster B personality. When one continues to choose to make a poor investment in a dysfunctional relationship with a narcissist, he or she uses ego to remain in resistance mode and within the sunken place. A lot of the times when a person who behaves codependently is compliant to a dysfunctional relationship with a narcissist, it is usually their ego that's at the root of it. This does not mean that the narcissist and cluster B personality is excused from their toxic behavior. It definitely does not mean that they are off the hook. Enmeshment, denial, and compliance is what keeps the flow of toxicity going within that dysfunctional relationship. The narcissist and the cluster B personality, they are usually well supplied when this happens. This is often why narcissists and cluster B personalities like it when people become reactionary, because that means they are using their egos and their emotions in order to be in resistant mode. Part of being reactionary means that a person taps into his or her ego, which means they are in resistance mode. So a person's ego can get them into trouble, whereas the dysfunctional relationship and the narcissist are concerned. Enmeshment can happen or occur when the narcissist and the cluster B personality sometimes uses gaslight techniques to tell the person who they really are. The bottom line is the narcissist and the cluster B personality, they're not interested in knowing who anyone else is. So enmeshment is one common thing that goes on in the dysfunctional relationship, whereas other people who are supplying the narcissist, they have a weak sense of their own identities. So one can end up having an identity crisis. Let's move forward. Narcissists tend to love remaining and recycling dysfunctional relationships with those who are willing to comply with diabolical tactics he or she uses to obtain source supply. This compliance does not challenge or threaten the false self-image of the narcissist. By agreeing to play the dysfunctional role of false identity that the narcissist has created, keeps one in the sunken place. So a person remains in the sunken place or unconscious, or they're doing the dysfunctional relationship unconsciously. That's another way of looking at being in the sunken place. This individual, usually the one who's behaving codependently, they're agreeing or they are complying to the dysfunctional relationship. So the narcissist is easily able to manipulate this person. To manipulate this person. So when he or she agrees to play the dysfunctional role of a false identity that the narcissist created, this absolutely keeps them in the sunken place. This keeps the rose-colored glasses on his or her face. Not only that, it keeps them unconscious to certain cues and clues that are going on in the theme of the dysfunctional relationship. For instance, the narcissist and the cluster personality may be repeatedly manipulating the person. They may be repeatedly lying about this and that. The person who is agreeing to play the dysfunctional role, they will have the rose-colored glasses on. Therefore, they will be in the sunken place because they will have a weak sense of their own identities, because the narcissist and the cluster personality has created a false identity for him or her, and they comply to it, or they agree to play that dysfunctional role. This is often the case. Let's move on. Within the sunken place, one often experiences confusion, depression, anxiety, and anger. One has to choose whether or not the dysfunctional relationship with the narcissist is worth his or her health, wealth, and life. Let's move forward. Adverse effects of narcissistic abuse: identity crisis, poor self-image, mental illness, emotional illness, psychosis, which are symptoms of disruptions in thoughts and perceptions, which blurs the lines of reality and fantasy. Neurosis, which is a mild form of mental illness involving stress, depression, and anxiety, however, not being out of touch with reality. Obsession, addiction, and trauma. Okay, now let's look at some of the diabolical tactics of narcissists. Gaslight technique, manipulation, deception, sexual perversion, Machiavellian, character assassination, triangulation, and recycle dysfunctional relationships repeatedly. Let's go to that last one first. Recycle dysfunctional relationships repeatedly. This is one diabolical tactic that the narcissist absolutely, in my opinion, loves to do very often, and that is recycle their relationships. They don't do healthy relationships. The narcissist and the cluster personality, they lack foresight. Therefore, they tend not to learn from their mistakes. They tend not to take any responsibility for any poor choices they have made in life. That means they're not going to learn how to have healthy relationships. This is why they recycle dysfunctional relationships. So this is a diabolical tactic of narcissists. They like to also triangulate. This means that they play two people against each other in order to obtain the source supply. They character assassinate. They set up scenarios to make it appear as if the targeted prey or the source supply is the bad guy or the bad girl. The Machiavellian, one who is cunning, devious, and unscrupulous. A lot of us know from trial and error and from personal experience this to be true of a narcissist or cluster personality. Sexual perversion, paraphilia, pedophilia, and bestiality or bestiality. Deception, manipulation, and gaslight techniques. Deception and manipulation, these two are self-explanatory. The gaslight technique is another one that I think the narcissist in the cluster personality likes to do very often. Another way that the narcissist is left starving is when others around him or her trust their own intuitiveness. This is something that will leave them starving because they're not able to tap into the energy field of a person who is highly intuitive, yet they practice personal boundaries. So the gaslight technique only works on people or source suppliers or targeted prey who do not trust themselves. The gaslight technique involves the narcissist or cluster personality systematically breaking the person down psychologically, spiritually, and emotionally. In other words, they try to get the person to turn on themselves, all for the source supply. Narcissists have denounced love, therefore have secretly vowed to not love anyone anymore for any reason. His or her lack of empathy stems from the inability to emotionally regulate. The inability to emotionally regulate leaves narcissists addicted to feeding off of the energy field of others in order to sustain the low vibrational energy he or she has. So a misconception, I think, is that narcissists and cluster B personality, they don't have any energy. They do. A lot of the times, they have a lot of energy. See, a person can choose to operate from a lower vibrational frequency, yet they can have a lot of energy. A person who is a narcissist or cluster B personality, one of the things that they do, again, is to feed or tap off of the energy fields of others. Not because they don't have any energy of their own. It is because they operate from a lower vibrational frequency. Therefore, they need to sustain energy enough to prey on other people. This is where the mimicking comes in. This is why narcissists and cluster personalities are often chameleons. They can change up, switch up, and adapt to any environment in order to extract the energy from other people. In other words, other people who have their energy fields or their emotional bodies, which that means everyone, okay? Because we all have the energy field and we all have emotional bodies. So the narcissist and cluster B personality, see, it is not that they don't have any energy. It's that they don't sustain their own energy. This is where their lack of the ability to emotionally regulate comes in. So they have plenty of energy, some of them. It's just that the type of energy that they mimic is of a higher vibrational frequency of which they lack. So they mimic it in order to feed off of others, in order to supply their false self-image enough to go on and prey on other people. It's just like if you had $100 bill. The narcissist may have $100 as well. But if they can manipulate you into giving up your $100 bill, that means that they will have now $200. And then they can go on and retrieve more money from other people. Because now they have, instead of $100 to move on, they have $200 to move on, and so on and so forth. So I hope this is a clearer picture that I've provided for you to see why is it that narcissists tend to tap off of the energy fields of so many people when sometimes they don't seem to lack any energy, yet they have a lower vibrational frequency that they operate from. And again, this is directly linked to the fact that they lack emotional regulation, which means that they do not sustain their own energy. Let's move forward. The part of those who behave codependently, which continue to comply to a dysfunctional relationship with him or her, is the part that makes false assumptions about narcissists and those with a cluster B personality. False assumptions make for prime source supply in the eyes of those who have a predatory nature. So some of the false assumptions of those who mainly behave codependently are very common when it comes to narcissists and cluster B personalities, really anyone who has a predatory nature. This is one of the main reasons why someone who behaves codependently continues to comply to a dysfunctional relationship with a narcissist or a cluster B personality. False assumptions about narcissists. Number 1, the narcissist will change if they are loved enough. Number 2, the narcissist is misunderstood. Number 3, the cluster B personality is misunderstood. Number 4, attempting to get along or be agreeable with the narcissist will result in him or her waking up to how dysfunctional their behavior is. False assumption number 5, love, respect, acknowledgement, validation, forgiveness, acceptance, and understanding will be appreciated by the narcissist and or cluster B personality. Last and final false assumption. Narcissists and cluster B personalities will eventually take responsibility for their actions, choices, and mistakes if given the second chance. I want to go to that last false assumption, which I think is the highlightable false assumption. Some people think, usually those who behave codependently, tend to think that the narcissist and the cluster B personality will eventually change. In other words, they think they will eventually take responsibility for their actions, for their choices, and mistakes if they are given the chance to do so. This is a false assumption. So what I would like to share with you all is that this last false assumption is from personal experience. This is one that I have done maybe 2 or 3 times in my life, and that is making the false assumption that the narcissist and a cluster B personality will eventually take responsibility for their actions, their choices, and their mistakes if given the chance. Okay, now let's get into the tools. Tool number 1, practice self-preservation, assertion, emotional discipline, and personal boundaries without apology. Okay, this is the narcissist repellent. Not for the narcissist, okay? This is for you. This is what's going to keep the narcissist at bay. One of the best narcissist repellent is to practice personal boundaries, self-preservation, emotional discipline, and assertion. And I stand by this from personal experience. This is what's going to keep the narcissist at bay. Really, I mean, because when you look at it, when you're practicing these things, this goes right up under the umbrella of mindfulness. And mindfulness is when you balance what you think with what you feel. And you are able to make decisions that benefit you and those that you love, those that you care about, those that you currently have a healthy relationship with. So when you practice personal boundaries, when you practice self-preservation, when you practice assertion, when you practice emotional discipline, all of that equals out to you living your life to the fullest and you not engaged in a relationship that's toxic and dysfunctional with the narcissist. The narcissist and cluster B personality, they cannot easily tap into your energy field when you are practicing those 4 things, which make up the narcissist repellent. And I stand by that. From personal experience, it is a game changer. So tool number 1 again, don't apologize for practicing self-preservation, assertion, emotional discipline, and personal boundaries. Tool number 2, take steps to become relentless. Okay, there's nothing wrong with this. Becoming relentless when it comes to your overall well-being and taking the steps to heal past narcissistic abuse. Really, when you look at it, you really have to go to that extent. It may sound extreme to some people, but when you're talking about a person who has had a dysfunctional relationship with a narcissist and a cluster B personality, well, that in and of itself can be quite extreme. It's a traumatic experience for most people. Okay, so in a sense, it is good and it's healthy and it's balanced to become a little bit relentless when it comes to your overall well-being. What do you need in order to thrive forward? What is it that you desire to have a full life? Okay, so again, tool number 2, take steps to become a little bit more comfortable in becoming relentless when it comes to your overall well-being. Tool number 3, demonstrate your growth rather than wasting time and energy going back and forth with the narcissist and the cluster B personality. The narcissist and the cluster B personality, they love the cat and mouse game. They love the tit for tat. They love the one-upmanship. Okay, they love that because this is what feeds their false self-image. That false self-image may be someone who's perfect, someone who doesn't make mistakes, someone who's a saint, someone who's a martyr, someone who is super duper smart. Okay, they're intelligent, they're a know-it-all. This may be some of the false self-images of the narcissist. So don't comply. And one way to not comply is to not waste time and energy arguing back and forth, doing the tit for tat, doing the cat and mouse game. Actually, the cat and mouse game is rigged and set up for you to lose. Trust me on that. The narcissist and cluster personality, they love nothing else than a good, sick, underhanded game, because they get really dirty without actually looking like they're getting dirty, if you understand what I'm saying. Usually a covert narcissist does this. They are very underhanded in how they do their shenanigans and how they plot and scheme. So they're doing a lot of the dirt and they enjoy getting their hands dirty. However, they want it to look like to the outside world that they're a saint and they're a martyr and they're perfect. So tool number 3 again is don't waste your time, don't waste your energy in going back and forth with the narcissist, arguing back and forth with the narcissist. The best thing to do is not to comply to a dysfunctional relationship with him or her. So don't make yourself available for it. The cat and mouse game is rigged for you to lose. Critical questions. Has the narcissist ever paid you any compliments that describe your personality or character? What do you think and feel about that? Second critical question. Do you like who you are or have become since investing in a dysfunctional relationship with narcissists and or cluster personalities? Why? Why not? Third critical question. How are you your best problem solver? What do you do to resolve your own issues in the dysfunctional relationship with the narcissist pulls shenanigans? Okay, let's go ahead and recap. The first question. Has the narcissist ever paid you any compliments that describe your personality or character? What do you think and feel about that? You know, sometimes we only go to what we feel. Sometimes it's good to go ahead and critically think about what's going on in the relationship with the narcissist. So I'm challenging you, especially my stars, to not only pay attention to how you feel about this, but what do you think about it? Has the narcissist ever paid you any compliments? And do they describe your character or your personality? Because sometimes narcissists, they will pay somebody a compliment, but usually it's due to a subtle insult. It's like a backhanded compliment. So beware when the narcissist is acting nice, okay? So think about it though. Have they ever paid you any compliments that truly speak to your character? They truly speak to your personality. Second critical question. Do you like who you are or have become since investing in the dysfunctional relationship with the narcissist or the cluster personality? Why do you like it? Why don't you like it? Okay, so who are you right now in the dysfunctional relationship with the narcissist and or cluster personality? Because more than likely you're going to find that who you are has nothing to do with the narcissist or the cluster personality. So why do you like, or if you do not like it, why? Some people don't like who they've become. They don't like who they are while they're in the relationship with the narcissist. So it's a really good idea, I think, to find out why. Why do you like who you've become? Why don't you like who you've become? Why do you not like who you are? And why do you like who you are? See, the bottom line is this. No one really has the last say when it comes to our characteristics. No one else really has the last say when it comes to the choices we make for ourselves and our lives. So ask yourself the question again. Do you like who you are, or do you like who you become? So I think question number 2 is a very powerful question. Who are you really? Simply right because now, at the end of the day, who we are is who we choose to be. Third critical question. How are you your best problem solver? What do you do to resolve your own issues in the dysfunctional relationship with the narcissist pull shenanigans? Okay, so the narcissist and the cluster personality, they are notorious for pulling shenanigans. So how do you resolve those issues? Do you resolve those issues for yourself? Are you your best problem solver? A lot of people want the validation from the narcissist or the cluster personality, and it's just not happening. So people are becoming more frustrated, they're more angry, because the narcissist and the cluster personality, they're not providing the validation. They don't appreciate other people in the relationship. The only thing that the narcissist and cluster personality is interested in is the source supply. They're only loyal to their false self-image. So that means that is at everybody else's expense. The bottom line is that when it comes to having relationships with narcissists, a lot of people are pretty much on their own. They might as well have the relationship by themselves or with themselves. So that means they have to pretty much resolve issues on their own when challenges are coming up. That person has to face challenges alone. The narcissist and cluster personality, they often run away when problems come up, when issues come up, when challenges need to be faced. They don't believe in and they don't do healthy relationships, meaning they don't partner with people to grow with people. They don't resolve issues with people. They usually blame other people for those issues. Are you ready, able, and willing to let go of the idea of the narcissist in order to save and or find your own identity in life? Why or why not? Next question. Have you taken steps to identify the false identity that the narcissist has created of you? How do you feel and what do you think about it all? Okay, so this question is also a loaded question. Have you taken steps to identify the false identity that the narcissist has created of you? Because see, a lot of people are unconscious to that. This is not me scolding anyone. I've done this too. See, the narcissist and the cluster personality, they are so slick. They're very crafty. They're very underhanded with their diabolical tactics for source supply. A lot of people don't even know the half of what happened until they go no contact from the narcissist. So when a person takes the time out to identify the false identity that the narcissist has created of them, it's a game changer for them and it's game over for the narcissist, because 9 times out of 10 chances they're not going to like what they see. This means that they have a dysfunctional role that they have been emotionally bullied to play. This is part of their false identity. So when a person takes the time out to allow themselves to grieve, the other thing that they're doing is they're tapping into how they feel and what they think about it all. Again, this is part of the grieving process. The individual, they take a step back and they look at the narcissist without the rose-colored glasses. And they take a look at the dysfunctional relationship that they were once in or that they are currently in. This is a game changer because now they are looking at things from a different perspective. A person can start to feel and to think. This is what mindfulness is. They balance what they feel with what they think. And not only that, they balance how they feel with how they think. The cluster personality and the narcissist cannot continue to tap into the energy field of someone who does this. Number one, who takes the steps to identify the false identity that the narcissist has created of him or her. Number two, when they start to practice mindfulness, meaning they're balancing their emotions and their thinking, their consciousness. They're not permitting the pendulum to swing all the way on their ego side or their thinking side, and they're not allowing it to swing over to the emotional side. Okay, so this is often what happens. Last critical question. Have you started to incorporate doing shadow work to your current support base? Okay, so have you started to incorporate doing shadow work to your current support base? This is usually a game changer as well. So when you start to research shadow work, which is something I absolutely encourage everyone to do, and that is to look at shadow work and how it works and what it can do for you. When you start to do that and you incorporate that into your support base, you not only strengthen your support base, but you help yourself to grow, and you also can see how your support base will expand. When a person's support base is expanding, 9 times out of 10 chances he or she is also growing. This should be happening at the same time. So have you started to incorporate doing shadow work to your current support base? And I just want to invite everyone and challenge everyone to look into shadow work. References and resources. You can find this in the description box below. I'm Luminousz, and I want to thank everybody for joining me today or tonight. And wherever you are, of course, I wish you the very best. Stay tuned for more vlogs and stay tuned for more videos.